Today we're going to talk about measures of center. This would be great to write down in your math notebook. But first, for measures of center, we're going to talk about mean and median. Now, sometimes when you see the word mean, that could also be heard as average, and they mean the same thing, where you just add up all of the values and then divide by however many there are. So in the picture, if you add up 2 plus 7 plus 9 and divide it by 3, because there are 3 values, that's how we get 6 as our mean. The median is another measure of center, and that's where we're going to list all of the values from least to greatest. That's the part where a lot of people forget. They forget to list it from least to greatest. So that's very important. And then you just find the middle value. Now, you may also hear the word mode. That will show up in a worksheet this week. We're not going to spend too much time on it in this PowerPoint. Just be aware of what it means. The mode is the most common number that occurs in the data points. And it is possible to have no mode. So as we can see in the first picture, example 1, no number repeats, so there's no mode. However, in example 2, we have 3 threes, and that occurs more than any other number in the data set, so 3 will be our mode. You may also see a box, this is a dot plot, and it's fairly simple with the dot plot. It is just whatever number you see the highest of. In this case, we have 5 twos, and so that would be our mode. Next is the term range. We're going to spend more time with the term range next week, but with range, it's something you might also hear this week. It's just the highest value minus the lowest value. All right, example number 1. So the table represents the number of pull-ups. We've got pull-ups for girls and pull-ups for boys. We want to figure out what's the mean for each of them and then which one has the higher mean. So we are going to add them all together. So first we're going to do girls, and we're going to add up 24 plus 18 plus 22 plus 15 and divide it by however many there are, and there are 4. Now I'm going to type this into my calculator. It is possible this would be on an inactive section of a test or a quiz, but if it was on an inactive, it would be easy to calculate numbers. Now when I type this all in and then I divide it by 4, I get 19.75. So I'm going to write this up here. Our mean for the girls is 19.75. For the boys, which would be this column, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to add them all together, 32 plus 20 plus 19 plus 22, and divide it by 4. Again, I'm going to use my calculator. And I end up getting 23.25 for the mean for boys. So in this case, the mean is higher for the boys. And by how much? We can't forget that part, by how much. So in order to figure out by how much, we are going to take the largest, which is the boys, 23.25, and subtract it by however many the girls was, 19.75, and we get 3.5. So the boys had a higher mean by 3.5. I'm sorry this part takes so long. I wish there was a clear the whole page button. If there is, I have not found it yet. Okay, example number 2. Now we want to focus on median. Now for median, the part that people always forget is the listing it from least to greatest. So we want to find the median for each team and then figure out which one has the highest median and by how much. So first we're going to do team 1, and we're going to order it from least to greatest. So I see 85 comma, 97, 98, 101, and 114. And you can do this however you'd like. You probably can tell right away what the middle number is. But if you have a whole lot of numbers, the way that I like to do it is mark one off the left, one off the right. One off the left, one off the right. And then you get a middle number. Sometimes you'll get two numbers in the middle, and you'll see that coming up in a future example. But what you do is you just find the average between those two numbers, and that'll be your median. So here our median for team 1 is 98. Now let's do team 2. Team 2, we have 77. Let's see, 88, 91, 95, and 103. Again, mark one off the left and the right. Do that again, and our median here is 91. And the question is, which team has the highest median and by how much? And team 1 has the highest median by 7. All right. So you've probably heard mean, median, and mode and range before. In 6th grade, you were introduced to these terms. The 7th grade concept of these terms is where we're comparing them together. So that's the difference between what you've learned in 6th grade and 7th grade. You may also have heard of the term outlier. An outlier is a data point that is noticeably different, either a whole lot more or a whole lot less than all the other data points. So our example, we're going to work through our example and see what happens when we throw an outlier. So Amr got the following scores on his past 5 rounds of golf. What is the mean and the median? So our mean, and I'm going to abbreviate with just MN. So for median, I'm going to say ME. For our mean, let's add them all together and divide by however many there are. So 68 plus 75 plus 72 plus 70 plus 65, all divided by, there's 5 total terms. Give me a moment to type this in. You might actually want to pause this video and try this on your own. You could try this whole example on your own. All right, I get 350 for the numerator divided by 5, and when I divide it, I get 70. Okay, median, order it from least to greatest. 68, 70, 72, 75. I just like to keep track of which numbers I have and have not used. And then throw one off the left, throw one off the right. Throw another one off the left, another one off the right. And hey, look, I get the same thing for my mean and my median. Now, the next problem, we're going to throw in an outlier and see what happens. Okay, so now Amr had a really bad day on his 6th round of golf and he hit 112. So as you can see, we now have 112 thrown into our data points. What is the mean and the median now? So mean and median. I do highly suggest for you to pause the video and try this on your own. But for the mean, we're going to add them all together. And now I have 462 out of 6, and our mean becomes 77. And now let's try our median. Let's order it from least to greatest. 65, 65, 68, 70, 72, 75, 112. Okay, this is where you're going to see what happens when you have two numbers in the middle. So we're going to mark one off from the left and right. Do that again. And now we have two numbers in the middle. And so you just find the average, the mean between these two. You add 70 and 72 together and divide it by 2. And when we do that, we get 71. So now our mean is 77. It changed a lot. And our median is 71. Let's erase this and see what the next question has to say. So now I'm wondering, when there is an outlier, what is a better way to measure the center of data? Now, originally, our mean and our median were both 70. With the outlier, the mean changed to 77 and the median only changed to 71. So the outlier highly affected the mean. So in this case, the median with the outlier would have been a better measure of center because Amr did so well. He played golf so well 5 times in a row. If he were to count his mean as his overall progression in golf, that outlier would have highly affected his overall representation of how he golfed. So the median in this case would have been a better way to measure the center. That way, the outlier, his one really bad day of golf out of 6 total, wouldn't have affected him too much. So mean and median, when there's no outlier, both are pretty good at measuring the center of a data set. However, when you have an outlier thrown into the mix, a median now becomes a better way to represent the center of measure.